We love to marvel at AI creativity, but the most important word in that phrase is still the human one. Behind every frictionless image, riff, jingle, or draft are people labeling data, moderating trauma, writing prompts, rating outputs, and steering models to learn our tastes. Reinforcement learning from human feedback relies on large pools of raters who score tone, safety, and style. Dataset pipelines depend on annotators who tag faces, classify genres, and strip abuse. Researchers call this invisible backbone ghost work. Indispensable, mostly outsourced, and too often underpaid. Moderators in the US, Kenya, the Philippines, and India have described PTSD-like symptoms after reviewing graphic material at scale. Even the creative tuning, prompt design, red teaming, preference rating is labor. Hours of human judgment that shape what a system ends up calling witty, kind, safe, or on brand. Welcome. This is a look behind the curtain. The unseen hands, the shifting profits, and the choices that decide whether our art stays human as the tools grow sharper. Start with the pipeline everyone forgets. A model that seems to paint or compose sits on millions of labeled examples. Someone has to say this is a cello, that is chiaroscuro, this caption is hateful, that take is supportive. Teams test edge cases, write safety prompts, and rank thousands of variants so the model learns what we prefer. The work is atomized and outsourced because it's tedious and emotionally wearing. It's also foundational. When we celebrate an AI's empathy in a lyric or its taste in a layout, we are praising the aggregate judgment of those raters and reviewers, workers who rarely get credit, residuals, or even stable contracts. That hidden labor meets an equally uncomfortable fact. Much early training data was scraped from the open web. That web includes copyrighted novels, images, articles, songs, and signature styles created by living artists who never opted in. Courts in the US and EU are now testing the limits of fair use, text and data mining exceptions, and style mimicry. News organizations and stock libraries have filed suits. Artists' collectives argue that, in the style of X, prompts are not homage but unlicensed extraction. Copyright offices have reiterated a simple standard. Authorship requires meaningful human control. Purely machine-generated output isn't copyrightable. The market is reacting. Some vendors have shifted to licensed corpora, stock catalogs, commissioned datasets, public domain material, and now pay contributors. Others honor do not train signals, publish dataset summaries, and offer opt-out registries. These are not favors, they are repairs to a cultural supply chain that launched too fast. Economically, generative tools are a double edge. Well-run field experiments show large productivity gains. A widely cited call center study found language model assistance boosted novice agent output and customer satisfaction. Controlled writing trials report 30–40% faster first drafts with equal or better blind ratings. AI pair programming delivers double-digit speedups on scoped coding tasks. Those gains change price dynamics. When a client can spin 100 comps in a minute, entry-level illustration, stock music, boilerplate copy, and basic voiceover rates compress. Briefs that used to fund apprenticeships quietly become model subscriptions. For emerging creatives, AI is both ladder and trap. Fantastic for practice and ideation. Corrosive to bargaining power if deliverables are treated as interchangeable. Psychological costs show up even when jobs don't vanish. When your voice is treated like a preset and your style like a prompt suffix, the feedback loop can shift from "you're improving" to "you're replaceable." Surveys of writers, musicians, and visual artists capture anxiety over devaluation and credit loss, and burnout from clients who expect infinite iterations at yesterday's rates. Organized responses have been concrete. Screenwriters secured contract language barring studios from crediting AI as a writer and protecting human authorship. Actors negotiated consent and compensation for digital replicas and synthetic voice. Publishers and labels updated clauses governing dataset usage and the use of cloned styles. None of this bans tools. It restores human agency over name, likeness, and credit. Under the hood, today's systems remain probabilistic engines. They don't feel inspiration. They forecast plausible tokens or pixels from their training distributions. Philosophically, That makes them exquisite pattern matchers rather than autonomous creators. Empirically, there's a homogenization risk. When models train on model-made content, distributional drift and model collapse reduce diversity and fidelity. You can feel it in timelines that start to read like one long mood board of averaged styles. Authenticity blurs too. Voice models convincingly imitate stars. Photorealistic images require provenance checks. Credit lines get muddy when a human vision rides through machine scaffolding. Provenance, not vibes, becomes the anchor for trust. There is a constructive path, augmentation, not substitution. Let models shoulder brute force exploration while people set intent, taste, and meaning. In practice, a director generates dozens of storyboards, then rewrites and edits by hand. A songwriter auditions chord progressions with a model, but records real instruments. An illustrator automates flats and cleanup while painting faces and final passes. Ethical use looks like choosing licensed tools, crediting human influences, and refusing in the style of X prompts when X is alive and uncompensated. It also means telling the truth about process. What was generated, what was composed, what was edited, and by whom. The infrastructure for truth is finally arriving. Content provenance standards, often called content credentials, embed tamper-evident manifests in files so clients and courts can verify who made what, with which tools, at which step. Camera makers, newsrooms, and creative suites are rolling them out, with cryptographic signatures that travel across edits. Collective licensing models from music are being adapted for training data so contributors can be paid when their catalogs improve a model's capabilities. Some platforms already revenue share with stock artists whose images train in-platform models. Defenses are evolving too. Style cloaking and poisoning tools let artists add barely visible perturbations that thwart unauthorized scraping or mimicry. None of this limits creativity. It makes it legible, and fairness thrives on legibility. Policy is moving, if unevenly. Europe's AI legislation introduces transparency duties for general-purpose and generative models, risk tiering, and tighter rules for emotion recognition in workplaces and schools. Copyright offices have reaffirmed human authorship requirements and are examining co-authorship claims and training exceptions. Consumer regulators warn against undisclosed bots, deceptive AI-powered marketing, and misuse of biometric and emotional data. Entertainment contracts now codify consent and pay for synthetic replicas. Public funders and broadcasters increasingly require provenance metadata on commissioned work. These aren't endpoints. They're the scaffolding for a healthier market. Not every effect is negative. In peer-reviewed tests, patients sometimes rated chatbot replies to medical questions as more empathetic than rushed human answers. Not because the model cares, but because time and phrasing matter and machines have infinite patience. The lesson isn't to replace clinicians or editors. It's to give them better drafts and phrasing so their human care can land, while keeping humans accountable for truth, risk, and context. Used this way, generative tools widen access to service without flattening authorship. For working creatives, adaptation can be specific rather than vague. Keep a provenance trail, save prompts, iterations, hand edits, so authorship is demonstrable. Price outcomes instead of hours when tools compress time. Offer clear tiers, human-only premium for campaigns that need uniqueness and airtight provenance, and human plus assist for rapid exploration, with plain language disclosures on both. Build community around process, work-in-progress streams, annotated breakdowns, behind the scenes, because process is where meaning and patronage live. Invest at the edges models still fumble. Non-Western idioms underrepresented in datasets, live capture and field recording, rare instruments, embodied performance, interdisciplinary mashups that require lived experience. Choose vendors who license inputs and pay contributors, even if they cost more, because you're voting for the market you want to keep selling into. Studios, platforms, and brands have responsibilities they can act on now. License or commission training sets. Don't launder sources through opaque brokers. Pay annotators and moderators living wages. Provide trauma-informed counseling and build career ladders. Publish sourcing and safety policies in plain language. Default to provenance metadata and privacy protections. Offer meaningful, no train, and consent to train toggles with enforcement. Budget to diversify datasets, so outputs don't flatten culture. Ship model cards and dataset datasheets, so downstream users understand capabilities, gaps, and risks. If you're selling AI creativity, include a line item for the people making the system safe and the creators whose work trained it. Education and labor should adapt in the open. Teach model literacy alongside craft. Where these systems shine, where they fail, the cliches they reproduce, and how to keep human judgment on the hook. Update curricula to emphasize curation, editing, orchestration, and systems thinking as creative skills. Unions and guilds should keep bargaining for credit, veto rights, fair pay, and audit access across AI-adjacent pipelines. Public agencies can tie grants and tax benefits to ethical data sourcing, contributor pay, and provenance compliance, so better behavior wins on margins, not just morals. There's also a global justice dimension we can't ignore. The same countries providing annotation and moderation labor, Nairobi, Manila, Hyderabad, and beyond, deserve durable jobs, safety standards, and profit sharing, not disposable contracts. Procurement rules can require vendors to certify wages, counseling, and working conditions across the labeling stack. If generative AI is a global industry, its gains should be globally shared. Creativity shouldn't be subsidized by invisible trauma. If we get this wrong, feeds saturate with derivative noise, livelihoods erode, and we train on our own synthetic exhaust until culture goes bland. Trust phrase as audiences ask what's real and who got paid. If we get it right, we widen access without flattening authorship, speed exploration without cheapening skill, and build a creative economy that's more, not less, fair. The honest headline is simple. AI isn't replacing creativity. It's reorganizing and repricing it. Our job is to ensure that reorganization keeps people, craft, credit, and care at the center. The path forward is practical. Pay for inputs, label outputs, keep humans in the loop and on the credits, protect the workers who make the system safe, build provenance into defaults, design tools that amplify imagination instead of extracting it. Because the smartest use of these models isn't asking them to be artists. It's building them so human artists can keep making work only humans can. Thanks for watching. And if you found this perspective valuable, subscribe, leave a comment, and join me for the next deep dive video. We're just getting started.